Welcome, everybody. My name is Tarek Masoud. I'm a professor of public policy at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard and the faculty director of the Middle East Initiative.
Hi, I'm Patrick Lazour. I am the writer of the musical We Live in Cairo. This is his brother, Daniel, also a writer of that same musical.
So We Live in Cairo was this extraordinary musical that ran last year at the American Repertory Theater about the Egyptian Revolution and its aftermath. It was a really special cultural document. It was widely acclaimed, and we hope it's going to have a fantastic life in the theater. We did a great conversation in May. Daniel and Patrick were kind enough this May to do a great conversation with us about the musical. But unfortunately, there were some technical difficulties. Would you say that, guys?
Yes. It was, it was a great conversation. So it was nothing to do with the conversation. But every time we happened to sing, the sound, we sing together, as you'll hear, we sing together. And sometimes with Zoom, the sound is wonky. So we're gonna, we re-recorded some, as you said, Tarek, we re-recorded some unique videos for this event, and you'll be seeing them sort of interspersed throughout this conversation.
Right. So basically what you're about to see is a conversation that the Lazour brothers and I recorded in May of this year, but every time they come to sing one of the songs from their extraordinary musical or their new album, the video will transition to new recordings of very high quality so that you'll get the best possible experience when listening to these two extraordinary talents.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you, Tarek.
Anything else to say, guys, before we turn this over to the May 2020 versions of ourselves?
Back to the past.
Yeah, just enjoy.
Enjoy.
And we're quarantined in our parents' place from the May recording, but here we're in our New York apartment, just to clear up any confusion.
Fantastic. But they're wearing the same clothes.
Exactly.
Is that true?
Yeah. But from the yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and please enjoy Patrick and Daniel Lazour in conversation with me about their musical, We Live in Cairo. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tarek Masoud. I'm the faculty director of the Middle East Initiative at the Harvard Kennedy School and the Sultan of Oman Professor of International Relations here. And it's my great pleasure to host this evening's event, which we've titled Songs of Love and Revolution, an evening with Daniel and Patrick Lazour. Daniel and Patrick are two people who they're the types of person who does not often enter into my orbit, or I do not often enter into their orbit. They are writers and musicians. And they came into my orbit because they produced an extraordinary musical about the Egyptian Revolution of 2011 called We Live in Cairo, that debuted at the American Repertory Theater last year. And I think it's one of the most impressive and important documents about that revolution that has been produced in the West. And so it's just been tremendous to experience their art and then to get to know them as human beings, because they are just extraordinary human beings. I'm going to read their formal bio here so you get a sense of just how impressive these two guys are. So We Live in Cairo was something they first workshopped at the O'Neill National Music Theater and at the New York Theater Workshop, where they won the 2016 Richard Rogers Award, which is one of the biggest awards you can win as a young musical theater writer. The play, as I mentioned, premiered at the American Repertory Theater last May, and it was directed by an Obie Award-winning director, Taibbi Magar, who's an extraordinary person in her own right. They have, it's a measure of just how impressive they are that they've been invited to workshop their work in residencies at very elite artists' colonies, including Yaddo and the MacDowell Colony. These are things that even I, a troglodytic political scientist, have heard of. They are also extremely broad in their interests. So, as you might guess from the fact that they're from Boylston, Massachusetts, and yet wrote a musical about the Egyptian Revolution, they're now writing a musical that is also being developed with the American Repertory Theater about cancer and its treatment through the ages. And they've been workshopping that at some fairly impressive places as well. So they were 2015, 2016 Dramatists Guild Fellows. They are New York Theater Workshop Usual Suspects, which I gather is some great honorific in that world. They were artists in residence at an institution that's very dear to my heart, the American University in Cairo, and they're teaching artists at the Lincoln Center Theater. And they perform their songs live when we are not all in quarantine at the Boiler Room in New York City. They have a new album out, which is called Frères, which means brothers. I do not want to leave anybody with the impression that I know French, because I don't. But it's available on all streaming services, including Spotify and Apple Music. And what I'm going to do at some point in this conversation is post the links to the album in the chat here. And this album is really a collection of folk songs that pull from a variety of different genres, including Arab music traditions. So these are really just extraordinarily interesting and creative people, and it's a great honor for me to be able to call them a friend. And when I thought about putting on events that might lift our spirits during this period of quarantine and social distancing, I could not think of anything that would be more uplifting than spending an evening with these two fellows. So welcome, gentlemen.
Tarek, wow.
Tarek,
what an introduction. Thank you.
Beyond. That was beyond.
We're so happy to be here.
And your accent, you could have fooled anyone.
As Parisian.
As a consonant Parisian.
No Parisians would be fooled. But
yeah.
So can I also just recognize a couple of other guests that are with us and whose videos all the attendees can see. The first is Mark Lunsford, our artistic producer at the American Repertory Theater. How you doing, Mark?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Tarek.
And Ryan McKittrick, who's an assistant professor of theater arts at Brandeis and the director of artistic programs at the American Repertory Theater. How are you, Ryan?
Hey, Tarek.
Good
Great
to see you.
here.
And they were both instrumental in bringing the Lazour brothers and their work on We Live in Cairo to the world. So it's really a great pleasure for us to have them here. So I think we were thinking that we would maybe start with a song, and then I could ask you a few questions, and then we could open it up for members of the audience to also have a dialogue with you guys. What do you think?
I love that.
That's
that. Great.
We love that.
All right.
What we were thinking is we can start with the songs from Cairo, and then maybe throw in one or two from some of the standalone songs, but it's all of a piece. So
Awesome.
We were thinking maybe we'll do Tahrir is now the end of Act 1, just to kick us off.
Do you want to set it up a little bit just for people who haven't seen the musical?
Sure, absolutely. So this song that you're about to listen to comes at the end of Act 1 and comes after this kind of, if I do say so myself, actually, it was more Taby Magar who really did this, our director. But after this incredible sort of like sequence, this 18 days sequence of the revolution of January 25th to February 11th when Mubarak falls. So this song happens right before that moment and in our musical at the end of Act 1. And it's sung by the brothers, Emir and Henny, and then the ensemble. So picture the song with all kinds of orchestration and bells and celebration. So here it goes.
I'm a son of Tahrir, born into hope, into heat, into thousands of voices. I'm a son of Tahrir, out in the crowd, on the street, our pain, our pride, our choices. We've been chanting Horeya, Horeya. We'll be singing for days, whoa, and our country screams. and my country is screaming. Tahrir is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked the wall of fear, and we'll see it crumble. And the airs are on, sleeping in tents in the night, in the heart of the city. And the light is our own, waiting for morning to fight against the worst of it. Imagine freedom, Horeya, Horeya. Imagine living the moment. Whoa, and our country screamed, and my country is screaming. It is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked the wall of fear, and we'll see it crumble. Oh, Horeya, Horeya, Horeya. We are young in Tahrir, young and amazed and alive, with our fists in the air. We are young in Tahrir, we fight against, we survive, we live to be the square. We see it working, Horeya, Horeya. We write a story of freedom. Whoa, and our country screamed, and my country is screaming. Tahrir is now, and now is here. We'll wait an hour, a day, a month, a year. We have cracked the wall of fear, and we'll see it crumble.
That is awesome. I never get tired of that song.
How was that? It might have come in and out. We'll try to be a little quieter.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that laptop mics do not know how to cope with beautiful music being made in there. But hopefully,
Rana, thank you.
folks can hear it. Rana said it was great, so that's good to know.
Miss you.
So for folks who don't know about the genesis of this this musical, I thought it might be a good idea just to tell people or get you to talk about how two brothers from Boylston, Massachusetts, actually came to write a musical about the Egyptian Revolution.
Mm-hmm, sure. I mean, it started with Patrick seeing a photograph. I don't know why I'm taking your narrative, but I tend to do that. I tend to like to do that.
Daniel's just upstage.
So Patrick was in a political science class at Boston College his senior year, and he saw this photograph that really captured both of our attention when he shared it with me, by this photojournalist Ed O of the New York Times. And it was during the 18 days of mass protests in Cairo. And it was Pierre's flat, this sort of famous crash pad of all of these young Egyptian revolutionaries getting together, and they're all at a table, and they're looking on laptops, and they're chatting with each other. And there was also an accompanying video actually that went along with it. So that sort of helped us get further into the world.
Yeah, into the rabbit hole.
And it just captured our sort of imagination, and we just from there we started doing a bunch of interviews. One call led to the next call. You have to talk to this person. We called the photojournalist, and he gave us a bunch of names.
Yeah, and that call, and it was one of those things where it was just the more we were talking with people, and the more we were sort of understanding the truth of the revolution and its aftermath, the more we became just connected to this story, and felt like we had a we just had a deep desire to actually tell it and tell it right. And I think the calls sort of led to a reading, led to, more drafts, which eventually resulted in a workshop at New York Theater Workshop, and then resulted in the production at the ART. And there was a lot that happened in between there. One of the things being we met you, Tarek, and the other thing being us going to the American University in Cairo,
doing a reading there with students, and their feedback was just so amazing and so honest. And it was really pretty amazing because Taby, Patrick, and I all went and we did a reading, and we were so nervous because, it was just like, we didn't want to seem like these imperialists coming in and telling their story. And we learned after the fact, when we did this talk back with the students, that they were like, we were prepared to protest this reading, but we listened to it, and we're really excited by it. I mean, they had a bunch of notes for us, but they were really excited by what was happening.
Yeah.
Which was such a sort of stamp of approval in a way,
Well, it only made us more eager to tell
it right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the remarkable things for me watching the reaction of my fellow Egyptians to the musical is that almost without regard to where they are on the political spectrum in Egypt, and it's a pretty polarized political spectrum, as you guys document in the musical, they felt that the musical was true and it spoke to them. And I thought that was really, a remarkable achievement on your guys' part.
Yeah.
And it could only happen because you guys spent so much time listening to folks in the region. Can I ask you a little bit about your process? So, what's the division of labor between you guys?
Yeah, good question.
Do more. I maybe do a little bit more in the music, and Patrick does more of the written word, but it's super flowy. And I think what will happen is Patrick will write a line of something, and then I'll set it to music, or I'll come to him with a riff. And then, we come with something that one of us came up with independently of each other. And then really where the magic happens is when we're in the room and we're just sort of like letting it snowball into something bigger, which is exciting.
We usually bake like a first draft. If we're talking about a song, like I'll do like a bunch of free writing. Daniel will do a bunch of free writing on the guitar, the piano, and then we'll usually bake out a first draft in like a couple of days, like just like together in the room, like figuring out what the lyrics, like what moments of the free write really are sort of legitimate or are interesting to us. And then it eventually just sort of becomes something. And I don't know, I mean, there's no really right way to write. That's how we write. But
you guys have been doing this stuff for a really long time. Am I right that I remember in one of the biographies of you guys that I read, or one of the news stories, the biographies will come later, but one of the news stories about you guys, it said that you put on your first musical when you were 12.
Well, there was this great little theater. It still exists in the town that we're in. We're at our parents' house in Boylston, called Calliope Theater, and they gave us space for a couple weeks every summer to put up musicals. So we'd spend the year just baking out this show, and we knew it would have a slot, so it had to get done. There's this. It had to get done.
Do you guys see us?
Yeah, we.
Okay, sorry.
And then from there we just sort of it was great because we had a spot. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can exist, as we all know, as you as a writer, Tarek, like we can exist in drafts for years and years and years, and it's like to just have someone like Calliope, like the ART, to say you're actually going to do this thing. It changes everything.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, because one of the things I was thinking was that to be an artist and to it's not like there is a well-trod path towards being the writer of musicals, and lots of people, I think, may think they have musical talent but can't imagine themselves either being a musician or doing, And so I guess for me, the question is, how did you guys, or when was it that you guys made that leap in your minds from being people who really liked musical theater, who had enormous talent, to thinking of yourselves, wow, we can really do this?
Yeah, that's That's a great question. You know, I will say, I think we were just like from the beginning. It started out. I would say it started out as like a game. It really did. It was like,
let's see if we can do this.
Yeah. Like we had, like, even before that theater that Daniel's talking about, we had this like little. In middle school we had this like 15-minute play competition, and it was like totally low stakes, no stakes. And Daniel and I just like at that moment said to ourselves, why don't we just like write a musical? You play the piano, like you're taking piano lessons.
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
But what happened was we got disqualified. And this is really sort of the crucible.
It's a pretty complex.
Yeah. It was a scandal. It was a scandal because it was a play competition and we wrote a musical. So we got disqualified, but it was.
I gave the fire in our belly.
Yeah, it gave us a fire in our bellies to keep doing it and like sort of rage against, we can write musicals. Yeah. So.
But I think it always was like, that was really fun. And it always, I think, stemmed from the collaboration between us and our relationship. And it sort of naturally progressed into a place of like legitimacy or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good word, because that basically is the question, right? Like, how do any of us get a sense that we have the right to do what we're doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the legitimacy is a good word. Yeah,
it's interesting though, because it's like, you never, I guess as artists, I mean, anyone, like you never really feel like you're legitimate. Yeah. I mean, especially like when in writing these shows, like with Cairo, and then with this new show we're writing with the ART, you're always sort of starting from square one.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, you feel as like you don't know. Yeah. You have maybe some more tools than you did before, but
right.
But so legitimate, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, especially with songwriting too. I feel like every time, and there's actually, I think it's a Leonard. Is it a Leonard Cohen or George M. Cohan? I don't know. It's one of the two. And they said this, that like, each time I start a song, it feels like I've never written a song before in my life. And I think that's totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a way that makes it exciting, because then you have to pull something out of the air.
So do you guys have another song you want to?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think, should we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Tarek, last time you were like, we had an engagement that you so generously invited us to, and you're like, are you gonna play Charme Maché? And we were like, oh no, we didn't practice it. And then yesterday we're like, hold on, we got to just learn the song so that we can, play it at the,
at events like this. But we do have the lyrics. Well, I shouldn't have even.
Well, yeah, it's a little rocky. I mean, we sort of dusted it off last night, so we don't know it as well as maybe we could. But we have to play it.
Yeah.
So
can you set it up for people just so they know what it is?
Tarek, do you want to set it up? I mean, I feel like maybe.
This musical is really great in a number of ways. One of the ways in which it's really great is, and obviously it captures, what happened in Egypt. But another way in which it's great is that it captures, for me, some of the Egyptian personality. And one thing that Egyptians are really known well for is being funny and satirical. And so this is a satirical song that comes in the beginning of the musical in the period before the uprising in 2011 against Hosni Mubarak. And it's a song written by the two protagonists, who are brothers. I wonder why it's a musical about two brothers written by two brothers. And it's making fun of Egypt's president, who at that time had basically retreated to this seaside resort. He wasn't really governing the country very well or at all in some accounts. And so this is a song making fun of this president of this country that was in some distress, who's off in his beachside resort, not really thinking about the Egyptian people. And it's really a great and funny song.
Okay, well, we hope we do it justice. Yeah, thank you, Daria.
To all unfortunate people in my country, I hear your problems and I'm taking them seriously. I know well doubts and fears. I've been your president now for 30 years. To all you beautiful people of the oldest civilization, I know the antidote to poor infrastructure and starvation. I know a way that we can fix this crazy food inflation. It's called a good old-fashioned Egyptian vacation. When I'm too tense, I take my break in Sharm el-Sheikh. And you're too tense, so take a break in Sharm el-Sheikh. It all makes sense in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Sharm el-Sheikh. So I suggest you take a break in Sharm el-Sheikh. Palm trees, minty shisha, the pool, the spa, or the beach. Couple hours a day will allay your trouble. Have you ever had champagne? It's the one with the bubbles. When I'm too tense, I eat my weight in tarts and cake. And I forget my country is at stake. When you're too tense, so take a break in Sharm el-Sheikh. It all makes sense in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Sharm el-Sheikh. It's a place of utter enjoyment. Ooh, there is no unemployment. Ooh, with smiles so wide, no one dying inside. How could anyone be possibly dying inside the strawberry daiquiri? Have you tried? It all makes sense in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Sharm el-Sheikh. Let's take a break in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Sharm el-Sheikh. Our president has ordered us to take a week or 2 or 8 in Sharm el-Sheikh, 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 in Sharm el-Sheikh.
So
Okay, yeah.
We,
I mean, there's a
we
whole
dusted
thing
it off. We
That's
dusted it off.
great. That's excellent. That's such a great song. My kids love it.
Right. We had a jam
Learned
session.
it.
Yeah, we had a jam session all together.
That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. So, what were your guys' early influences? Like, what was there a particular musical that you guys heard when you were really young and you thought, "Wow, this is awesome. We want to do this."
You know, I don't know if this is, I mean, it shouldn't be shameful. The first musicals that we were into were the Andrew Lloyd Webber, like mega
Shameful. I hope
musicals.
Andrew Lloyd Webber isn't tuning in.
I know. No, it's not shameful at all. It's not shameful at all. I still love a lot of the songs. It was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was the first show I ever saw.
Right. Well, and then Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, Jesus Christ Superstar.
And yeah, our dad was really into the British mega musicals.
Yeah. So that was our first like
he'll still blast Jesus Christ Superstar on Easter. You know,
Yeah.
it'll be like the soundtrack of Easter is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah. And there's this story, I guess. I mean, I find it tickles me. When I was a kid, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was the first show we saw at the Colonial. I think it was at Colonial, yeah, with Donny Osmond. And I was like a kid, I was like 5. And supposedly, legend has it that I actually, during the show, I roamed. So we were in the mezzanine, and I roamed like away from my parents and up to like the mezzanine balcony and just stood there for the entire show. I was so mesmerized.
Yeah, that's funny.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
But after that, I think Chicago was a big one too. I think we loved Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago we love, and Stephen Sondheim.
And then Sondheim, yeah.
Pacific Overtures is a great show.
Well, you guys, I had not heard of Pacific Overtures until you guys mentioned it, and then and it's just tremendous. I think it's just an incredible. And I actually went to see the musical around the time that We Live in Cairo was playing. It just randomly.
I
be a small
remember it
production.
happening during that time.
Yeah.
It's such a great show. It's
such a great example of like I mean, it's not totally abstract, but a more abstract rendering of like a really dense historical moment. You know, it's I don't know. It just really sort of it feels light when the subject is so heavy.
Yeah, it's sort of experimental.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, it's basically about the forcible opening of Japan in the middle of the 19th century to Western trade, and you think to yourself like, how do you make a musical about that? Stephen Sondheim succeeded in making a musical about it. And in fact, the original Broadway production is available on YouTube. You can actually watch it.
Oh, right. Which is great. Yeah.
It's really great. And so you guys, you're so young that people of my advanced age can't really tell you all young people look the same age. But Patrick, you're a couple of years older than Daniel.
Yeah. I just turned 29.
Wow.
Which is not that young.
I remember 29. That was a long time ago for me.
Yeah. Saturn's return. Well, I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm 26.
You guys, I mean, I've also got two sons and they don't always get along. One of the remarkable things I think about you guys is that you were able to make this partnership. Siblings aren't often able to do that. Is there some secret that other parents out there of siblings can learn to try to create cooperative siblings like yourself?
A thimble of gin. No,
I guess I can speak to maybe how we try to keep it together. I mean, we love our parents and they're so supportive and they shower us with love. So I guess love is the answer in terms of parenting, I guess. But in terms of for us, I think we always need to stay on it, and I think whenever we start assuming that we're in it, we're in it for the long haul, like we're, tied at the hip, we're never, whatever, like whenever we start assuming these things is when just like whatever, just the stupid, like, petty
fights,
feuds start. So, I mean, we were at this writers colony and we were, trying to get stuff done, and we didn't really have like a good talk in a while. And so, like the writing wasn't happening. And so we decided, it was at UCross. It was in like this beautiful prairie in Wyoming. Like it was just
incredible.
But we decided to make this sort of constitution for ourselves, like what to do when we're feeling a certain way, how to talk to each other, and so I think that sort of ushered in a new phase of like, we need to talk about where we are emotionally. And I think, we were, I think a little bit allergic to doing that because they thought it would, ruin something or we'd get sort of
like raw or vulnerable.
Too raw and vulnerable. But I don't think it only helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like that constant communication is so important, especially now when, we're getting older and.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, well, don't worry. You still got a lot of years ahead of you before you get older. So can you guys tell me a little bit about the new musical that you're working on now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're very excited about this. As far as we know, it's actually going to be it's going to be pretty small, but also pretty epic. So it takes four different stories of cancer treatment through different ages. Like in the BC, like before Christ, then the Middle Ages, and then the 1960s, and then 2016 or 17. So, and the whole show, it goes through like people's philosophies on cancer treatment and the idea of cure, the idea of what is cure when you're dealing with a disease that by all intents and purposes is incurable, and what does that look like? And it really deals with the patient caretaker relationship over these times. And the show, it's very serious. Obviously, it's cancer, but it's only 3 people. Like the show only has 3 people. So there's like one cancer patient, one caretaker, caregiver, and then like sort of a life force, like a character that plays the societal. Yeah. So they go through time, and it's very sort of like maximalist, and a lot of costume. We're hoping a lot of costumes and a lot of vibe. It's vibe.
Vibe, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really exciting. I mean, there are so many questions still, but it's very it's exciting. And I think we're drawn to things that people are like, why would you want to write a musical about that? You know, because I mean,
then fail miserably.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to try to do. You know.
Well, I mean, you guys really feel to me like people writing PhD theses, right? Like, you've identified some really important thing that nobody has really, in your case, made art about or music about. And so it's really, I mean, part of what you have to, I mean, just the fact that you're saying you're starting with cancer treatment before Christ. I mean, the scholarly effort that you have to go to even know what that was like. I mean, I can imagine the amount of reading that you guys had to do. It's pretty.
Well, no, you make it. Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, and I also think for us, it's like a personal thing. You know, like the show is obviously for the audience, and having that in front of people is an incredibly fulfilling experience. But it's also throughout the process, like learning about this stuff and talking with people. It just expands your
own understanding.
Well, and of the world, and it's very important. You know,
I mean, and it's like, I think with Cairo, I don't think we believed. I mean, you hear that musicals take 7+ years to bring to the stage, and when we started, we didn't really believe that. No. But thank God we chose a subject that was so rich and led us so many places to fill up that time and change who, the sort of artists we were. So I think as we look forward and as we sort of continue with this cancer piece, it's like these subjects, I mean, they're going to take up a big chunk of our life. So they've got to be something that we can really, dig our teeth into, sink our teeth into.
So where'd the idea come from? How did you guys decide that you wanted to make a musical about this?
It actually started with a story about the first chemotherapy trial. Do you mean the new musical, Tarek?
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, it started with we learned about these 2 people, Fry and Freyreich, who were these clinicians who started the trial for chemotherapy as we know it today, and in leukemia patients, and that
in the 50s and 60s, in Maryland.
And it was a real sort of cowboy, Wild West scenario that all of these researchers, like the culture of research at that time was really fast and loose, and it posed a lot of questions, and a lot of miracles, but also a lot of problems. And we were like, that's really rich, and that brings up a lot of interesting themes and questions and
so many of their peers, Fry and Freyreich, no relation to one another. So it started out like in our conception of like this funny buddy comedy thing. It's sort of since moved on from that, but not comedy, but buddy, but it's really interesting because they were up against these people in their field who were like, how can you do this to you're experimenting on children. Our job as doctors is to make them feel better, to usher them into this last stage of their life comfortably. And here they were, to many people poisoning, these children who had leukemia. So it was a really sort of ethically interesting.
But all in the search for this idea of like a cure. Like there was a cure to cancer.
Right.
And then after that we read Siddhartha. I'm sure many have read Siddhartha Mukherjee's Emperor of All Maladies, and that does an incredible job of just like taking cancer from its from when it was first discovered all the way up to now, and we're like, wow, how incredible would it be if we were to put like time on stage, like different eras on stage, and use one like patient to do that.
Right.
So
That's incredible. I mean, so, how did you come across that first story though? I mean,
it's not the sexiest thing, but I think it was just a New Yorker, Malcolm Gladwell, I think.
I think
right?
you're right.
Malcolm
I think you're right.
Gladwell
Yeah,
had a little
Gladwell.
story in there.
Yeah.
And then we met the guy, and then we met one of their one of their assistants.
Yeah.
Or someone who, someone who was involved in the trial at the time, and we met this guy, and we sort of followed the trail for about a year and a half or so, and then we sort of, tried to dovetail and
but this reminds me of advice that I got in graduate school, which was and I'm not sure I actually follow this advice, but the advice was you need to read really widely and voraciously, like because your ideas and your sense of what's important is going to come from the broader culture. So you should read novels, and you guys really exemplify that for me. It's like your process involves this voracious consumption of all kinds of material, and then you get inspired by something. It's pretty cool.
Thank you,
Tarek.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we pride ourselves on that. So.
All right, so let's do another song. What do you guys have?
Yeah.
Next? And I don't know if on your list you have a song from the new work, but that would be good to get to as well. But anyways,
we could probably do.
Yeah, you want? Yeah, we.
Well, let's just do period between songs.
Yeah, I think maybe we start there.
That could be.
Yeah, we might want to include it.
So, Tarek, do you want us to do maybe one more from Cairo and then do a new?
Cool. And there is a request that we got from a great friend of the show, Rana Qalyubi.
Oh, right.
I think she's requesting movement, but I'm not sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because she just says there's a quieter song she doesn't remember, but I think it's movement.
Yeah. Movement,
yeah. Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. This is a song that that takes place between two characters, Emir and Layla. Thank you, Layla. It's been a year. And Layla is a Muslim woman, and Emir is a Coptic Christian man, and they're talking about the fact that they can't really legitimize their relationship in Egypt, but perhaps there are some other options out there for them. So this is a song about that. So I believe I'm playing Emir, and you're playing Layla.
Sounds good. Then we'll pack a bag and we'll take a bus to Alex and we'll sail to Greece. Mary, stay for life. Sounds good. People ask us, we'll say people we'll move like people. Sounds good. And we'll find a way. We can form a big assembly where we speak our mind. That people will move our people. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. You, me, us. To you, me, us. To
I think if we could hear everybody, they'd be thunderously applauding right now.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Thank you.
You know, it was a real treat to hear it with
Jakeem Hart and Parissa Shamir, who actually you can hear on YouTube. The ART put out a great recording.
I was just going to say, that's right, that this particular song is available on YouTube. You know, there's a question actually in the Q&A box that probably I should relay to you now. So this person is asking, as I think I've asked you guys many times, and I've heard other people ask you many times, when are people going to be able to purchase the soundtrack of this musical on iTunes?
Great question. Great question.
We got to get on that, and
we're on it.
We are on it.
It's the quarantine threw a bit of a wrench into our best laid plans, but yeah, no, we're on it. I mean, I think it's a huge priority for us too. I mean, and especially to get the crew back together and just to hear their interpretations of these songs, because it was a cast of so many Middle Eastern Americans and Arab Americans, and it was amazing how they really took to the show and made these roles their own, in just incredible ways.
So I think that's the first thing. I mean, I think before another production, which is also coming, I have full confidence. We want to get a soundtrack out there, and and we're just we're figuring out some details on it, but we'll let you know as soon as we know.
That's great. I think there's just tremendous desire for that. And you said you're confident that there will be another production. How does that, for those of us who again are not in the rarefied world of the arts. So what's the next step for a musical like this? It debuted at the ART to, resounding success. Everybody loved it. And then what's step two?
Yeah, Diane Borger, the incredible artistic producer at the ART. She's an amazing producer of the show and of so many musicals that have gone on to Broadway. She herself will say, I don't see Broadway as as necessarily the place every show is meant to go. And when she said that, it was really inspiring. And I think it led us to start thinking about where the show would sort of best exist
next.
Yeah. So I think for this show, I mean, we noticed that the student audiences were so into it, and we were like, well, if that's the audience, if there's, because the show is about student revolutionaries.
Yeah.
So if that's the audience, maybe there's a way in which we could do a concert version that we tour to universities and bring it to the audiences that really responded most sort of feverishly to the show, which you felt at those student matinees.
Yeah. Broadway is such an odd institution if you think about it. I mean, we're in 2020, everything is online. And yet there is this like one street in New York where like that's, we want our show to, be there. And I'm wondering with, sort of the increased people spending much more time in front of their screens, people accessing art through streaming, et cetera. Is there a future that you guys see where in fact, the next stop for a musical like this is not Broadway, but say Netflix?
Yeah. I mean, we've thought about a lot of different things. I think the show would be a great, because the show really does have. So one of the characters, Karim, is a street artist, and during as many of you know, I'm sure, during the Egyptian Revolution and after, street art was a real, and art, just visual art was just such a part of the culture and part of the tapestry of that time. So we talk and we're like, wouldn't it be great to do sort of like not like a Disney animated film, but like like something artful and something that speaks to the art of the time and the and the music and how the art and how visual art and music sort of combine into something combine into something at that point. So yeah, I mean, short answer,
an indie animated film, if anybody has connections.
Right.
But I mean, that sounds like a totally inspired idea. The only, I guess, downside of it is that you had such a great cast that it would be a pity not to see them, right?
I know.
Dan Omar, who plays this character, Fedwa, who's this firebrand revolutionary, just a great talent. Or you mentioned Karim. Sharif Afifi, I think, was the actor who played him, who's the great grandson of Anwar Sadat, Egypt. So you just had great actors.
They were. I mean, that ensemble was so top notch, really top notch, and I think you saw it on stage because they all got so into it, and they got so into the history.
Right.
And we all became we became family during that production. So.
And you guys wouldn't think about even just releasing the the recording from the ART production, like I mean, one of the questions here says has it been filmed somewhere where I can watch it in its entirety?
We would. I mean, obviously we would be sharing that far and wide. The only snag is, and I'm sure Diane and the ART folks can tell you, because I'm sure they would want to share it as well, but equity. The equity rules of the theater don't allow archive productions to be shared. But who knows?
Who knows? And the ART is doing this great thing now during quarantine of putting some numbers from their archives. Like I think you can you can do a certain amount of video footage and share it, and they've been doing that too. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I feel like in this era of quarantine, etc., there's all kinds of new willingness on the part of people to be creative and to.
I think so.
Maybe equity can be a little more lax in this time too.
Yeah,
to just let some things
to get more art out to more people.
More art to the people, and this, the show's about protest, and the show's, about the scrappiness of getting things out there. So. Getting information out there, so we're working on it. On it.
Do you have another song?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, of course. Should we do? We can do one that we've been thinking about for the new show. It might go in, it might not. We're trying to do a different process with this new show where we're writing a lot of story and a lot of dialogue first, and then trying to figure out music as this sort of second phase of things. But this is a song that we think might work somewhere. It's a slower one, but we're happy with it. It's on our album. It's on the Frères album.
Awesome.
Yeah,
because I wanted to make sure we heard music from the album too.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
so two birds with one stone. But this song's called "Period Between Storms."
Tall grass grows, and I know in the way that the farmer knows fall is here and harvest coming. I dance in the way that the willow dances in the wind. I'm afraid I will take my chances wait till the storm rolls by. I'll wait till the storm rolls by. Oh, I live in the period between storms, and in the period between storms is where I hope to die. I fly in the way that the robin flies to a plump little worm that has caught my eye. Make it last. Who knows about tomorrow? I mourn in the way that the owl mourns in the night. I don't hear when the howl mourns, so I'll stay. I could be wiser. I have a lot to say, but I'll wait till the storm rolls by. I'll wait till the storm rolls by. Oh, I live in the period between storms, and in the period between storms is where I hope to die. I fall in the way that an old oak falls, but I know that the fall isn't nearly all. Chop it up. A cord of wood, says the feller. I love in the way that the pine cone loves, so I know why the gardener wears his gloves. So I hope the tree I plant becomes a forest. I have a lot to say, but I'll wait till the storm rolls by. I'll wait till the storm rolls by. Oh, I live in the period between storms, and in the period between storms is where I hope to die.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
Two
tremendous.
slow ones in a row.
Yeah, two
Thank
slow
you.
ones in a row. Yeah.
No, that's
Palate
great.
cleanser after that.
What's the? Can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, the meaning of the song, or what it's, you know, the work
Yeah.
that
know,
it's doing.
I know. We don't really know yet, and it's going to be very interesting because we sort of wrote on impulse a little bit, and what was just really exciting, as Patrick was talking about before, with Cairo, with that end of Act 1 sequence, a lot of that was like devised. So it was like we had a little bit of something, a little bit of text, a little bit of song, and like we put it all in a pot, and then that came out. And I think we want to make the whole this new show. We want to make that the style we work for this new show. So we sort of came up with that, and we'll see what we all do in the room together, and what will pull and what will resonate with certain characters. So we don't know exactly where it goes, but
what's nice
material.
Yeah. And what's nice about this show, no, sorry to interrupt. What's nice about this show too is that it is it's a very small cast, like, or at least we're envisioning it to be a very small cast. So it's like us, 3 players, you know, a director, and maybe a piano and a guitar or something. But like having that I think will allow some flexibility and just allow us all to become a unit and figure out a mission together. What's so hard about musicals, I think, is that you oftentimes have this huge ensemble and you're all trying to get something to work. And what eventually happens is you're there, you've written everything down, you have this set amount of time to do something. Like it's like 3 weeks of rehearsal, 3 or 4 weeks, 4 weeks if you're lucky, and you got to get that done. You got to get it done at that time, and then it goes up. And there's previews, and it's just a whirlwind, and that whirlwind can be exciting. And we're also looking for, we're looking to try to mix up the process a little bit.
So I want to make sure that folks get to engage with you. Another question is about from Julia Martin about the musical. And it actually can be almost a question about any of the works that you've done, but do each of you have a favorite character that you've created and why?
Oh, great question.
I think, as you mentioned, Tarek, before, and maybe she's your favorite too, I think Fedwa is
You're so mad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fedwa, I just feel like just her family history of coming from this long line of activists, and it drew on a lot of conversations we had with Egyptians who are from this sort of activist family. And I think I don't know, I think here it's not as common to be like to sort of take that on as sort of like the family crest is like I identify this way. I'm an activist, but in Egypt it appeared to us that that was such a sense of pride for so many families. So I think drawing on that and also I think she's just so complex, because at the end of the show, I'm not to spoil anything, she goes out to this protest after trying to know, really in her heart of hearts, knowing that all is lost in a sense, or not all is, I shouldn't say all is lost, but knowing that no one will join her. Yeah,
right.
Knowing that no one will join her, she still goes out and she protests alone. I mean, it's just like, to imagine into that sort of bravery, I think it's just really incredible.
Yeah.
And so for both of you, you too, Patrick, would say that Fedwa, the revolutionary, was your favorite character.
Fedwa, yeah, I think Fedwa is my first. I'd say coming in second would probably be. I'm a big fan of Karim. I think there's like a bon vivance to him, and
yes.
I loved Sharif's interpretation in the show, and it's fun. It's fun to make these characters because you do dream in, like they're all like sort of a part of you, or they all come from us, and so they're all speaking to different sort of facets of your understanding of the world. And
yes,
those, like, I think for me, Karim and Fedwa, those are sort of shining brightest at my age, and I think probably your age too, for Fedwa.
Yeah.
I think for me, what appeals most about Fedwa's character is that to me, she's just not at all like I am, right? So she is a revolutionary. She wants radical change, and she's not going to compromise. And I'm fairly, small c conservative. I want gradual change, and I'm totally ready to compromise. So there's something about that purity that I really admired.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think what really scared us about that character, I can speak for myself, what scared me about Fedwa too is I'm a very conflict averse person. Like I do not want to, I don't want, like, I try to like pacify everyone and not get into and Fedwa is a character. It's like, that's her only reason for existing, and that.
And I mean, she wouldn't get hung up if someone felt bad about what she said or any of these things that like we deal with. We're like, oh wait, should we not have said that? Should we not have done that? Like, she's like not playing that.
She doesn't play that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a great character. I mean, all the characters are great, and I really hope that people are going to have an opportunity to experience this work. So let's get back to some questions. So one question in the Q&A is by Suala Asif, who says they've been working on a large mask making campaign in Pakistan that began in their dorm room in Cambridge. And they're testifying that the songs and images from We Live in Cairo, which they watched in June, really stuck in their head and inspired them to do that.
Oh my God!
Thank you.
They say, quote, "I really would not have been able to do this campaign without the musical. Thank you."
Wow!
Oh my God!
Yeah, and their question is basically, if you've thought about that role that your art might have in inspiring people, and their other question is for you to talk a little bit about what art has inspired you guys. Great questions.
Wow, great question. Well, first of all, thank you so much. That is really that is the ambrosia for artists to hear that, and that's why we keep doing what we're doing. I think. What was the first part of the question, Tarek?
So
I'm sorry.
The first part was really just to ask you whether. So two parts, I guess. The first part was, have you thought about how your art might inspire people? And my riff on that question is, when you're creating something like We Live in Cairo, are you just trying to tell a story, or are you also trying to inspire people to do some of the kinds of things that you are showing to us in that musical? That's number one. And then the second question is about what art inspires you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, in terms of, do you mind if I take
Go.
the
Yes,
first
take it.
question? In terms of the first question, this might not be completely what you're saying, but I'm energized by it because I think how I think when we're in a period right now where we're actually like working again at like the nascent stages of something, and that's a very exciting time because you're like everything. What is Sondheim? Blank canvas, what is it? Blank canvas possibilities.
It can.
All possibilities or whatever. When there's a blank canvas, when you don't have much to work with,
Endless
anything's
possibilities,
possible.
yeah. Yep.
And so I think when when I'm dreaming into a work, I always think the thing that gets me going, whether it be a scene, whether it be a character or a song, is always like how, if I was an audience member sitting there in that theater, how I would feel if I heard this song, or if I saw this moment, or if there was a perfect confluence of performance and voice and direction, where like it's just because when you're in the theater, like the reason why people keep going back to theater, I think, is like you have these moments that truly change your life, like like just these theatrical gestures or a scene or a monologue or something. And because you're sitting there in real time and you're imagining into this and you're with that person who's on the stage doing this for you, like it's like nothing. And I'm sure many of you know this, but it's like nothing you can quite experience in this world. It's like you're seeing God in a lot of ways. And so I always think about when I'm like thinking up a scene or a song, I always think about how would I react like in the audience if I were to hear that moment or see that moment. So yes, short answer is it's the only reason why I guess I do it.
Yeah.
But I would only say,
yeah, go ahead.
No, it's also just so great to I don't know, hear something so specific. Like, I'm sorry, I don't see the name there, but just this idea of masks are being made inspired by this. Like, it's such a specific thing that someone was driven to do. And I think, I don't know, I just think when you're making something, you have no idea. On some level, you're sitting in the back of the house and you're trying to decide how the audience as like a mass of people is responding to your work. But on another level, it's such a mystery of who's there, of who's going to do something with what they've seen, whether they're going to respond to it. And it's so cool to sort of like just zoom into like sort of one experience of the show that led to more art too. And it's thank you so much for sharing that, because it's like the number of times where I've sat in an auditorium and had an experience, but I never shared with the whoever made the thing, whatever it is. And when you do, it's a really moving thing for a creator. As you as a creator, this mask maker knows. So.
Well, it's really it's interesting to think about this question of inspiration and the kind of inspirational work the piece of art is doing, right? So there are some people, I think, who make art because they want to awaken a sentiment in people that leads to action, right? So I want to, create an image of a musical piece or something that captures, for example, the oppression that people in a particular place live under, so that they then can act collectively to fight that oppression. And then there's a different type of inspiration, which is really just to present people with something beautiful and without any kind of expectation or even desire of leading to action.
Right.
Is that maybe that's actually a false dichotomy and it's not real, but I guess I would label the latter as apolitical and the former as political.
Right.
And I guess what I want you guys to answer is, is there a political, work that you want this piece to do, or are you really just trying to put something beautiful into the world?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's such a tough and great, and it's a great, it's great how you present it, Tarek, because I think you're right. And I think we want to be realistic about what we're doing. I mean, we're making musical theater, and that holds a certain place in American culture. It doesn't hold the same place as I don't know, as a protest, but even as like a mass or as like a chant in Washington Square Park or whatever. So I just feel like for us, maybe it is in between these two sort of nodes that you're talking about, Tarek, because it's like I think we want to present a Western audience, a mostly white audience, with a Middle East that they, especially since 9/11, have really not been exposed to in a real way. So I think that's maybe this sort of slight political sort of drive that the piece has in terms of what people are going to do with that. The best I can hope for is that the next time they see Homeland, they'll question why the menacing oud came in underneath that actor's entrance.
Right.
So I think it's a subtler or maybe a smaller mission.
Yeah, but I would also say too, though, I mean, I think the show, this show very much has been as we said, it's been 7 years of our lives, and I think like the show itself, definitely we want it to have, as you said, like sort of a political, we want the response to be political in some way, shape, or form, but we also want this show to be more than just the show. Like we did this, as I mentioned before, this Tahrirus now at Oberon and then in New York at Joe's Pub. And it's just, I think the show and the music specifically has this opportunity because it does have, it is character driven. Yes, it is plot driven, but it also has sort of a kind of a protest folk sound, troubadour sound. We want the music to be a part of different events, like protest events.
I don't know if we talked with you, Tarek, about this at length, but we actually brought some of these songs to a concert. We opened for Rami Assam, who was the direct. He did a concert at National Sawdust this past January 25th, the anniversary of the revolution, and we opened with songs. And again, it was another situation where it was a largely Egyptian audience, and we were like, how is this going to go over? And we sang the opening number once in the beginning, and people sort of latched onto it. And then Rami invited us up, and we sang it with him, and people were really into it. And it was sort of like incredible. And that, I think, is what you're speaking to. It's like, that's not it's not like we're just doing part of the show. Like by doing that, we're doing the show. And I think we want to find that flexibility for it to be either like a real call to action if it needs to be, or like a hopefully beautiful piece of musical theater.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to be cognizant of folks' time. And I do want to see if we can get you to at least play one more song. So one of the questions we have here is from Will Green, who asks, on behalf of his 9-year-old daughter, what your favorite song from the show is. And if you haven't played it already, could you play it?
Oh, sure. Should we do Genealogy? I love Tahrirus now, I think, is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But Genealogy
I think that's a good idea.
This song opens the show, and it's sung by the actors before they become before they become their characters. Yeah, and it's a sort of a sing-along.
Yes.
So it starts. We'll do the refrain twice so you can hear it. Then maybe you sing along at home. So it's a cappella.
Okay.
And we'll sing it now.
I was one person who had an idea, who made it words, and someone heard. I was one person who had an idea, who made it words, and someone heard. Someone heard and took my words. Someone heard and took my words and made them theirs. We stepped outside and had a smoke. I felt a kinship as we spoke of thoughts we shared. He told his brothers, I told mine, and what was 2 turned into 9. We sat to eat. I loved my angry family. At dawn outside the factory was when we'd meet. I was one person who had an idea, who made it words, and someone heard. We put our words on poster board and stood outside the iron door on tired feet, blocking the street. The workers came 100 strong. We learned a chant, we sang a song. When I am free, we all will be. Soldiers with their loaded guns pulled up and shot us one by one. My brothers died, and so did I. I died and then I traveled on. I saw the riots in hell when I knew the cry. I was one person who had an idea, who made it words, and someone heard, and then I reached the city, enrolled in university. My words of rage were on a page. I logged onto the internet. I wrote my words and they were met with roaring sound and shaking ground. I held a cell phone in my veil. I told my sister we could fail. Come anyway. Go to the square. You'll know the words when you are there. And know that millions come from thousands. Know that thousands come from hundreds. Know that hundreds come from 2, which comes from one person who had an idea, who made it words, and someone heard.
Tremendous, guys. Thank you, Emmeline Green, for requesting that song. I'm glad we got to hear it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, that's, as you said, that's what opens the show, and it really does give people, I think, goosebumps. It's really tremendous song. So we are actually coming on the end of our time, and I would actually ordinarily I would try to keep you guys on for as long as possible, but as you know, this is the month of Ramadan, and so the time of breaking fast is in about 10 minutes. So I want to make sure people get to do that. You know, I do want to just also recognize somebody who is on this call who I think at least you know, has been a great champion of the show, and certainly is the reason that I was able to be even peripherally involved with you guys. And that's Irv Plotkin. who's
Irv.
let me see if I can get Irv to say. Let me see if I can unmute.
Oh,
Irv.
I'm unmuted, I think.
Hi, Irv.
Hey, you guys look so great.
Thanks.
Have this talent just locked up there. I'm happy about
We're
that.
up in our
I want
tower.
to see it bloom further.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's one of the sad things about quarantine is that that talent is locked up, and but Irv was just a great champion of this show, and I've known Irv for years, and he's the one. He's on the leadership of the ART, and so got me involved in this, and I'm just endlessly grateful to him, because this is really getting to know you guys and being even peripherally involved with We Live in Cairo has really been very enriching for me.
The pleasure was all both, Tarek, or the pleasure really was all ours. And we've, we had I think in the past 2 years or so, we've had such a journey with this show. And I think it's, it goes down as one of the most fulfilling artistic experiences of our lives.
Truly. And Tarek, I mean, just your ability to guide us in the right direction while still injecting us with enthusiasm. Was just,
That's a gift.
That was so special for us.
But you guys did something very special for the ART. You brought us an audience that we never had before. And
thank you, Irv.
That's very, very important.
What great memories.
Across the whole culture in Boston was very important.
Thank you
very much for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Irv. It's great to see you. Great to see you looking so well. And I hope that we'll all be able to gather in person sooner rather than later. I continue to be an optimist and believe that, in the fall, we will all be allowed once again to gather in the same physical space. And if and when that happens, I hope that we can call on you guys to actually come and make another visit.
Anytime.
Anytime, yeah.
And
please.
then, I had these questions I was going to ask, but I'll ask them next time. And
good.
Now I know that we'll
this
have
can
that
be ongoing.
opportunity.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us and for your really tremendous questions. I'm sorry, there are a couple of questions we didn't have the time to get to, but, and again, I want to thank you guys for making the time to do this and for making such a beautiful musical and continuing to make such beautiful art and for sharing it with us. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being a part of this. And I mean, it's, this is what gets us through. So we really appreciate it, both of us.
All right. Stay healthy.
Okay.
You
too. Yeah.
All right. We'll
Thanks
see
so
you
much,
all.
everybody.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
next
much.
time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tarek.
Until next time.